Nice to meet you all. Oh, that was loud, wasn't it? Crikey. I'm Andy. I'm the marketing director from Virgin Wines, the customer marketing director. So my job is I look after all of our direct consumer marketing. So whether that's activity that recruits new customers or activity that gets them to buy a second time, third time. So I'm looking after the customer lifetime value of our customer base. And I'm here to talk to you about how we use email marketing at Virgin Wines to maximise the lifetime value and the sales and the profit that we get out of our customers. So hopefully it's going to be a bit of a practical session, and you'll have some takeaways that you can then bring to your own email activity. I'll talk about some of the techniques that we use to add a bit of zest to our email marketing, where all the time we're always trying to keep the customer at the heart of our strategy. There's also later on a nod or two to AI, which I'm sure you've heard loads of times today and we'll carry on hearing about. So that's what we're going to talk about, email marketing. So Virgin Wines is one of the largest mail order wine retailers in the UK, a turnover around about 60 million, roughly 180,000 active customers, with 150,000 of them on one of our subscription schemes. So I'll come to the subscription schemes in a minute. The first thing to talk about is a bit of background about Virgin Wines, what makes us unique. So first thing to talk about is how we buy wine. So this is two of our lovely wine buyers on the screen, Andy and Dave, on a trip to South Africa, I think it was. So the way that we buy wine, unlike other wine retailers, is we don't just rock up to a vineyard and say, we want to buy everything, how cheap can you do it? Because the issue with that is it's basically pushing the margins, pushing the bottom line of the winemaker, and it ends up creating a bit of a race to the bottom on wine quality. So what we do is our wine buyers are actually winemakers themselves, and they're judges on various wine award panels and things like that. So what they do is when they go to a winery, they come armed with an absolutely enormous database of customer ratings and reviews. So we were the first wine retailer in the UK to ask our customers to rate and review their wines on our website. So we've got well over 1 million reviews on our wines. So we know really, really well what our customers like and what they don't like. So when our wine buyers go to a vineyard, they come armed with all that data, all that information, and they can actually work with a winemaker in the blending room and create exclusive wines just for our customers, which we are very confident that they'll like. And if you go on our website, you'll see our ratings are really, really high on most of our wines. So I think we know what we're doing with that. And the way we work with the winemakers, I mean, most of our winemakers have been with us for many, many years. They're like friends of the business now. So we don't want to be the sort of buying team where, like I say, we just rock up and try and squeeze them for the best price we can possibly get out of them. And what it means is that our customers get really good quality wines at a really good price that are largely exclusive to us. About 95% of the wines we sell are exclusive to Virgin Wines. So obviously if they like it, hopefully they'll come back and buy it from us again. Okay, I mentioned briefly a second ago about the subscriptions that we use, that we have in the business. So the first one I'll talk about briefly is Discovery Club. So this is like a classic product-based subscription scheme where every 3 months we reserve a case of wine for the customers within the subscription, a 12-bottle case. We'll send them an email to say, here's all the wines that are in your case. And if they want it, they don't have to do anything. We deliver it to them. And if they don't want it, they just give us a ring and let us know that, and we won't send it to them. The second subscription scheme we have is a little bit unique to us, called Wine Bank. So this is more of a monetary-based subscription. So from the way we present to customers is it's all about spreading the costs of buying wine. So most of these customers will pay in, let's say, £25 a month, and for every £5 they put in, they earn £1 of interest. So at that point they've got £30 to spend on wine. So that £5 is a little bit like cash back, but we're not allowed to call it that because it's not cash and they can't have it back. But from the mechanics, it's the same thing. And then on top of that, they also get free delivery with all of their wine orders with us. Now these customers account for the vast majority of the sales that I look after 80 to 90% of the revenue each month, depending on the time of year. And the reason for it is it's a bit of a win-win for us and the customers. So obviously the customers are basically getting a discount on everything they buy because they're earning this interest and they're getting free delivery. But then obviously as they put money into their wine bank account, they're saving that money up, ready to spend on a case of wine. Once they've paid in a few payments, they'll have enough to cover a case or cover most of a case. So they've got a vested interest to come back and buy from us. And like I say, with most of the wines we sell being exclusive to us, they've got a really good reason to come back. So that's how we keep that loyalty with our customer base. Okay, the next thing to talk about briefly is it's wine. So I'm sure everyone here is very passionate about the companies they work for and the products they sell or the services they sell. I always think I've got a bit of a head start. Wine's pretty awesome. Our customers love it, and for many of our customers, wine is a hobby. So even if they're not necessarily ready to buy something off us when we send them an email, they're still quite likely to engage with that email, open it and read it, and click through to the site. So our deliverability, our open rates, and our email engagement in general is really, really high. So although the work my team do is really fantastic, and everyone works really hard to put together engaging activity, I always try to remember that I've got a bit of a head start because it's wine. I put a couple of quotes up there. I wouldn't be able to use those in my marketing because the ASA would tell me off. Okay, so the next thing to talk about briefly is the creative process we go through. So the way that we kind of get started with our campaigns is we have a promotional calendar, so a year-long plan where we're working out what sort of activity we want to send out week on week. So what we're trying to do is to obviously bear in mind seasonality. So a wine business, all wine businesses are heavily focused around Christmas, obviously starting around Black Friday. But outside of that, we want to have a mixture of strong promotional deals like discounts and vouchers, that percentage off one that was up there a second ago, alongside new wine launches like this one, or kind of funky promotions like this one where customers roll the dice to get a discount, like a surprise discount. So that's an ongoing task for the team, where we're just trying to keep things fresh all the time to keep customers engaged with the activity we're sending, rather than constantly sending them the same message over and over again. Then I've got a team of copywriters and designers who work together to kind of craft the emails and build the content. And so the design team, the in-house design team, are creating these things appearing on the screen are all email top images that we've sent out recently. So we try to use classic direct response marketing principles. You want to have a nice strong image that grabs people's attention, and if you can grab their attention in that first split second of them opening an email, you've got half a chance of them going through and reading what you want to talk about, and then hopefully clicking through and buying. And the kind of common understanding with an email is that you generally want to keep it short. People have got short attention spans and getting shorter all the time, and so keep an email short, have prominent buy now buttons or add to basket buttons where I get them through to the site as quickly as possible. That being said, we quite like to break the rules as well. So although many of our emails will have that sort of classic direct response, big top image, short email, click through, we do also like to change things up. So for example, our CEO, Jay, quite often likes to send a personal email to our customers, and quite often he's got quite a lot to say. So I'm going to bring up an example in a second where this was an email that went out this summer, so at the end of our financial year, and the CEO had quite a lot to talk about. For example, we had an enormous duty rise on wine in the past 18 months, and we wanted to talk about how we managed to keep the price of wine down for our customers. Also, there are various things in the business, like our head wine buyer, Sophie Lord, was recently awarded as Wine Buyer of the Year by Decanter. So we had a lot to talk about. So this is the email. This is kind of like a screenshot of me scrolling through it on my phone. And many people who work in email land will tell you this is absolutely ridiculous. It's 20 scrolls on my phone. There are click-throughs within there, the little red links and so on. There's a couple of images lower down that we get to. But for many businesses this probably wouldn't work. This is slightly outside of the norm. Massive long email. But like I say, our customers like wine, they like reading about wine. We also use the CEO Jay, that was his picture, just scroll past there, in a lot of our marketing and our live events. He's at most of them. So our customers kind of get to know the CEO and feel kind of personally engaged with that. They kind of have a relationship directly with him. So when we do these sorts of emails, although it's slightly unusual from a pure email marketing standpoint, it's something that we've tested and we know works really well. So the key here, kind of takeaway for you guys, is that it's a good idea to try stuff that might seem a little bit out there, because you don't know when you're going to hit on something that really works with your customers. And this might not work for you if you're selling something that's not wine. We find it works really well. Now this email obviously won't give you any numbers, but we had a really high sales forecast for this, so we were giving customers three free bottles of wine with any order they placed, but we more than doubled our sales forecast, so it continues to overperform for us. Okay, so the next thing to talk about in the email marketing landscape is automations. So we use Marketing Cloud, which is a Salesforce system, and within there they have a program called Journey Builder, and we've created well over 300 automated or triggered emails, and this was one of the biggest things we did to our email program a number of years ago. So the automations can be fired off the back of anything, so it can be an abandoned basket email, abandoned browse email, birthday emails, quite simple things like that. And the one up here is deliberately quite a simple journey. They can turn into these enormous flow charts flying off all over the place, where we're triggering emails or text messages or even outbound phone calls. And the way that we the starting point for this is we'll always try to think about what our goal is for any particular automation. So for example, I spoke about WineBank at the beginning. When we have a brand new WineBank customer sign up, so they've just bought their very first case of wine from us and they've signed up to WineBank, we know that there's not a lot of advantage in trying to sell them another case of wine straight away. 12 bottles of wine, for most people that takes a fair while to get through. And our target, our aim for that automation is to get them to the point where they've made their first WineBank payment. So they've put that first £25 in and we give them the £5. So they've got about 4 weeks between buying that first case of wine and hopefully making their first payment. So in that 4-week journey, all of the emails we send them are either about the brand, talk about how we buy wine, encouraging them to rate the wines they've bought. There'll be a little bit of wine education in there. Wine can be quite a complicated subject sometimes, and we've got an enormous wine guide on our site with tons and tons of information, so we encourage customers to come and read about that. Early on in the journey, we also, as a surprise, so something they didn't know about when they signed up, is we give them a £15 bonus on their account if they make their first payment. So we use that as a way very early on in the automation to kind of get them interested, tell them about the benefits of the club and remind them why they want to be a part of it. And our single goal is to get them to that point where they're going to make that first payment, and then from then on in, that's when the team will start to try to get them to order again and so on. So automations, if you don't do them, is a really good thing. Okay, the next thing, segmentation. So this is a colleague of mine, Jason, at one of our live tasting events in London last year, I think it was. So with our segmentation, really doing this properly is probably the single biggest thing you can do if you're getting started with an email program. Correctly segmenting your base and working out the different types of messages, the different types of promotions that you would try to do to different types of customers at different life stage is pretty transformational if you don't do it. So we segment our customer base on a whole range of attributes or data points we have on different customers. So we'll look at if they're a member of one of our subscription schemes. We'll look at if they used to be a member of a subscription scheme but have cancelled. We'll look at how many times they've purchased. So largely in two big chunks, we'll treat customers differently if they've only bought one case of wine. If they've bought one case of wine, they haven't yet experienced what Virgin Wines is all about. So that's kind of one big bucket of customers. And then everyone else. So they might have ordered 200 times. But those customers who've only bought once, we treat as a special segment. And then we look at how how recent their latest order was with us. So whether it was less than a month ago, 1 month, 2 months ago, all the way down to 2 years ago. And that in total gives us 192 segments that we track. So I'm not suggesting we do 192 versions of every email, but we track them separately every week, every month, and we use that to influence the type of activity that we choose to send them. Then we also have wine bank balances to overlay over the top of that. So as I mentioned, customers are saving up their wine bank balance in order to buy a case of wine, save up for a case of wine. So we use that wine bank balance within our email marketing, a little bit of personalisation, say, you've got £150 in your wine bank account, you can get this case right now with nothing left to pay. That's that sort of messaging. And then we also have a whole heap of purchase history, which we can bring into our segmentation, whether we want to send someone a red wine offer or a white wine offer, and all of the intricacies from there. Okay, next one. So AI segments. So AI is obviously a bit of a hot topic. I think pretty much every stand mentions it here today, so it's something that will come up a lot. So the way that we use AI is a number of different ways. So we have an algorithm that was built bespoke for us with a Salesforce consultancy, and what it's doing is it tracks all of the information we have about a customer, absolutely everything. So obviously purchase history. We get demographic data because when a customer signs up, they give us their name and address. They give us their age because we're selling alcohol. So we get some brief demographic data. We can track all of the email engagement, opens and clicks, and purchases. And then also because we're integrated throughout the business with Salesforce, we can track all of the contact they've had with our customer service team. So for example, if they've recently had a bad experience with delivery, for example, we can use that to influence the type of marketing that we send them. So all of this data is compiled into this massive algorithm, and a really clever bit of maths works out when that individual customer is likely to order again. So we have a prediction of an order date, and that is on an individual basis. So every single customer, we have a prediction of when they are likely to order again. We tested this when we first went live. Not like an A/B test, so some customers get treated differently to others, but for several months we tracked the predictions, and we were very pleased with how accurate it was. It was really surprisingly accurate as how clever it was at predicting this order date. So we can then use this to influence what we do. So going back many years, 8-10 years or so, we used to market to our customers on the basis of the overall business rules. So the business, from the business point of view, if a customer is born in the past 12 months, they're considered active, and when they go past 12 months, they're lapsed. That's just here from a reporting point of view. And so what we would do is we'd market to customers for 12 months, saying thanks for being a loyal customer, and then so for 365 days we market like that, and 366 days we suddenly say, where have you been? Come back, buy some wine. Which is obviously a little bit ridiculous for two main reasons. The first one is we have a lot of customers who buy from us just once a year. Being a very heavily Christmas-dominated business, a lot of customers will just save up and buy at Christmas, and then we don't see them again for the 12 months. And in that instance, we were marketing to those customers every week, saying, come buy some wine, totally ignoring the fact that they only buy off us once a year. And then on the flip side, you have customers who buy every 2 months, and so a certain customer buys every 2 months, over and over again, and then it's been 4 or 5 months since they've ordered, and we didn't react to that. We would just carry on marketing to them like they're an active customer, and then we wait a full year, so another 7 months, 8 months, whatever it might be, before we then engage with them and say, come back, where have you been? So obviously not giving customers a very good experience. So having this bespoke individual order prediction date means we can block people into little groups where we can say, it's too early to sell them a case of wine. Now they're getting to the point where they might want to buy a case of wine. Now they're lapsing, now they're lapsed, and we can react to that accordingly. An outbound phone call, an email, or a text message, or so on. Okay. So the next thing to talk about briefly is how I see us using AI in the future. So we're not there yet with this stuff, and the order prediction functionality I mentioned a moment ago has been with us for a year or so. So we're still working out more and more things we can do with it all the time, which has taken up a lot of our efforts. But for the future, I can kind of see a couple of different ways that Virgin ones might use AI in email marketing. So personally, at the moment, I really don't like the idea of having an AI write our emails. I know a lot of people do that, but like I said, I've got a really good team of copywriters, and I'm yet to see an AI system that can match them. We tried various systems, like paid-for programs where you can upload your tone of voice and so on. Still not convinced. But one thing we do quite regularly is like personalised elements of an email. So if we're doing a voucher campaign, for example, we might create a section where for people who buy red wine, it says, hey, use your voucher on this case of red, or you like Aussie Shiraz, use your voucher on this particular bottle. Now my team, during a voucher campaign, can do maybe 10 or 20 versions of this, because they've got to build a case of wine on our system, write the copy, test it, proof it, all that sort of stuff. 10, maybe 20 versions. And I kind of think, what if we could use an AI system to do 100,000 versions? Because we know that when we do this targeted activity, it responds really well, but there's a limit to how much we can actually do. So if it was possible to get an AI, and I'll be talking to people today, so if anyone's here who knows about this, come and see me at the end, that'd be great. To be able to have a system that could bespoke an actual case of wine for a customer that we think they'll like, and write a little bit of copy and personalise the pricing, that would be kind of the ultimate aim. And then the other side of things I've mentioned briefly is we kind of do a little bit of AI segmentation, but still ultimately we end up with one of my analysts and me sitting in a room looking at all our response rates and deciding where we draw the lines between different groups of customers. And I think if there was an AI built into it that could handle that, it would be able to make that decision making much quicker and much more robustly than I can. So that's the end. Thank you very much. If anyone has any questions, please feel free. There is a microphone. No pressure.
Hello.
Hi there. I think I need this.
So I think it's quite interesting that you mentioned that you guys have 192 customer segmentations and more than 300 flows for automation marketing emails. So my question is here that what kind of resources we need in a team to make these kind of decisions for segmentations and flows. So such as digital marketers or data analytics and stuff like that. So can you explain that a bit, please? What kind of resources require?
I mean, my team's pretty small. So directly in the email team, there's myself. There's two kind of heads of. So one of them is looking after the promotional plan and the emails I had on the screen that are to our active base of customers. I have another senior marketer who's looking after the activity, the automations, and activity where we're trying to upgrade customers onto one of our subscriptions, etc. So his job is to kind of nudge those customers up into those high responding segments. Then they're supporting those guys are two marketing execs, so they're helping build the emails. They do a little bit of copywriting and proofing and so on. But the two heads of are the guys who are generally writing the bulk of the activity. We then have an in-house team of designers. We've got two dedicated designers who work nearly exclusively for the email team, although the whole design team, there's about 8 of them. And then directly in my team there is 3 marketing analysts and data kind of marketers. So one of them is specifically setting the activity up and sending it out. One of them's doing regular customer base analysis, and that's where the segmentation comes in. And then the other person is doing more like bespoke campaign and based analysis. So not loads. Answer your question? Thank you. Anyone else?
Have you looked into using AI in the design part of your emails at all?
Yes. Yeah, we do that. Not for terribly long, so it's a bit of a new thing, but when it comes to backgrounds and so on behind a case of wine, then we do, definitely. But we haven't quite nailed just generating a full image. But it's something that we probably like to. Yeah. Thank you. How do I turn this on?